Welcome to the Coco and Confident podcast, where the most beautiful thing you can wear is confidence. Welcome back to the Coco and Confident podcast, where the most beautiful thing you can wear is confidence, as always. Welcome back to another episode. Here we are still on season 1, of course, but we are exploring high-level conversations and variety of topics that matters to us teens. And as we always say, and we'll always mention, this show is empowered by Project Diva International. And Project Diva International is a professional and personal development organization for both girls in middle school and high school, which I am a part of. I'm a teen executive, and the middle school girls are the girls on the go. The purpose of this podcast is to encourage girls, specifically our melanated girls, to critically think about how they are showing up, and for the parents and community to have insights on what we teens are thinking about the world around us. Before we get started and jump into today's topic, I want to introduce the CEO of the Love Initiative Group, Miss Keeya. Miss Keeya, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself to the Confidence Crew?
Sure. Thank you, Marlene. First, number one up first, shout out to the Confidence Crew. Thank you all for watching. I am Miss Keeya Allen, and I'm the CEO of the Love Initiative Group, where I am a self-love and leadership coach. And with that, I do speaking and facilitation surrounding those areas. I am also the marketing and branding director for Project Diva International, proudly, where we are a personal and professional development organization for girls. And we champion the existence of girls amplifying their power.
We love that. We got to give your flowers. Thank you so much, Miss Keeya, for
Thank
giving
you.
us all the details. Um, I'd like to go ahead and ask you a quick question. With you being a part of PDI, what
Mhm.
inspired you on your journey to coach our Black girls?
Well, I am a Black girl and I love it, honey. Okay. So that is me. That is who I am. Um, that's the one thing that you can't deny. That's one thing I can't change. When I walk in the room, you will see that I am a Black girl and now a Black woman. But I loved being a Black girl growing up, and as a grown woman, I love still being fun and loving and giving with you all, and just really being who I wish I had sometimes then, or just being able to love our girls out loud. A lot of times in different spaces, people haven't taken ownership in loving our girls out loud. And so I get to do that and have fun while doing it.
We love it. That's so good. Really can't hide it. And who wants to hide the melanin? Not.
Maybe everybody want to be us.
Okay, let's get to know Miss Keeya for a little bit before we hop into the episode, because today's episode is about our melanated girls, of course, specifically the defamation of our Black girl teens. But before we hop into that, we want to get to know you a little bit more. So, would you like to explain your mission, impact, and that first that first feeling you're like, okay, I want to coach Black girls for as long as I can, or for this amount of time, or what was that for you? What did that look like for you?
Well, for me, I'm a giver, right? I always have been a giver since I was a small girl. I can remember like just all the things that make people smile, right? Whether it's writing personal notes to my friends or my mom or my godmom, or giving gifts at holidays and birthdays, no matter if it was just something that was like $5, right? I love giving, I love loving on people. Um, so again, since a small girl, I knew that I was very passionate about Black girls and girls that look like me, right?
Mm.
Girls are important, of all ethnicities, and I've been blessed to know some beautiful ones, right? But in my community, right, in my culture, and being proud of where I come from. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of being a Black girl, and being melanated. Um, through my like mission and kind of like the impact that I'm striving for, I was able to accept in my life kind of earlier on, in my, I would say teens and in my early 20s, the fact that it was my purpose to change people's lives. And at
Hmm.
first, I didn't really know what to do with that or how that looked, or you're living every day, so you don't really know like how that's coming about. But once I began to connect and have that communication with, to understand through what God was telling me, right? What does that look like? So changing people's lives, with the Love Initiative group, that is not only my business, it's my ministry. It's where I get to do what I want to do, right? What I'm seeing and visioning. So there's three areas that I love to kind of stand on, and that's exposure, love, and leadership. And again, like I said, through those opportunities of exposure, love, and leadership, I'm able to again work with girls, work with all kinds of people, but specifically with girls, with Black girls, right, on their self love, and then also their leadership, how they're showing up in spaces and not being afraid of their brilliance. So, yes.
That I love that a lot. And being able to, like I mentioned before, I am a part of Project Diva. So being able to experience Miss Keeya and knowing that she's putting in the work to help us put in the work for ourselves is a full circle moment. So I really appreciate you going into detail and letting the Confidence Crew know more about you.
Yes.
So with today's topic being about our melanated teen girls, what message would you give to them? Or let's slow down right there before we talk about the message. What do you think? No, what do you know for yourself growing up as a Black girl? What challenges did you face?
Well, I would say as a Black girl growing up, I am born and raised in Minnesota. So I am from Minneapolis, and particularly North Minneapolis in the northwest suburbs. So I actually grew up in my elementary years going to school with predominantly all white. I remember beginning school in the first grade, and I went to the same school from first grade through sixth grade, and then one of their junior highs. And when I started going there, I was like one of out of maybe 300 something students, right? One of maybe like 40 Black kids in the building, if that,
Mm,
right? And then by the time I got to like sixth grade, we were probably like 100 or, just so. But it was like twos and fews of us. So some of those challenges of being able to navigate, just being a Black girl born and raised in Minnesota, being in predominantly white spaces, right? So one thing that was beautiful, I come from a family that really just poured into us owning who we are, being proud to be Black, knowing our history, knowing where we come from. Um, and so that was always instilled in me. And so even when those challenges might have been faced, some things that just were inappropriate, or that things are happening because of maybe like the color of your skin or the area that you're from or how you walk, how you talk. Um, Knowing those things and being able to talk openly to my family and those around me. Like I come from just really strong, beautiful women that just stood boldly in who they were. And it was okay for us to be us, right? And if that people didn't like it, they just didn't like it, right? So um, that helped me a lot. One of the most profound challenges that I faced, though, was my mother passed when I was 12. And um, like a few months before I turned 13. And through that, my mother was very loving. She was very giving. Um, she always told me how beautiful I was and all those things, and just constant, the epitome of love to me. And through that, with her passing away, so she was very hands on. My mother was around every day, like, mom, like, we like this.
right.
And I mean, dress alike, talk alike, like me, her, and my sister, three peas in a pod. And so, um, knowing how much she loved me and then for her to like suddenly be gone physically, even though she was sick and had some health challenges. You never, no matter what, you just never really think about your parent not living, right? So it was very devastating. And then I had to begin to navigate life without my mother, who was again very loving, very hands on. She would hug me, kiss me, all those things, to then being really upset about it, right? Being really hurt behind it. And so that, along with all the hormones and things that you kind of go through in your teenage years, and again, navigating life as a Black girl, and your number one confidant or safest space that you have is gone, that presented a lot of challenges for me. And so that it oozed out of me in different ways. So,
Yeah, I definitely hear that. And I'm glad that you were able to be vulnerable and share that as
mhm,
well. Um,
thank you.
it's just, it's hard, especially like you mentioned, with not only being a Black girl, but then having someone who's there every day, not there, and then, going through these changes. It's all a lot on
Mhm.
one person. And I feel like, or no, I know that you were able to, I feel like you were able to, I know it was hard. I'll say that. I know
Mhm.
it was very hard. And I just want to commend you for being so strong and, having your confidence be so high. And it's just amazing to see how when you walk into a room that what you've been through doesn't define you. I really love that a lot about you. So thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you.
these.
Thank
And
you so much. You know you
what
my girl.
I like to like touch on this. You tapped on it a little bit, but
Mhm.
how were you able to navigate? Could you go into a little bit more detail on how you were able to navigate loving yourself and keeping your reputation respectful? Like, what did that look like during that time?
Um, well, again, as I expressed, um, my mom was very beautiful. She was very confident, and extra loving. And so she would put that into me, like to know that basically, like, I'm
Mm.
the SHIT, okay? Can't nobody hold me. Sometimes that looks like standing on business, right? What y'all say now, standing on business. But really knowing, because my mother would be sick off and on when I was younger, and my grandmother's a whole nother story. Like my grandmother is like big boss, and she ain't taking no mess. And I come from a family that don't really take no mess. And sometimes in this world where people would um make me feel bad for kind of how I might react, or go off. And you had to learn to have some self-regulation and control, but being aware of who I am and just really being boldly about expressing who I am. And so not all the time being heard in that, but once I would look around and know like how to just stand on what they put inside of me, or what they instilled in me. um I would say too, my mother, she knew that she wouldn't be here forever. And
Yeah.
so she showed me a lot and taught me a lot and would talk to me a lot. Some things that she would say didn't begin to make sense till I was like an adult, right? Like, oh, my mom used to say this all the time, so I always was able to just be a little bit more. I don't like using the word like mature, but just being aware of who I
Yeah.
am and who Keeya was. And always like protecting myself. Like it was always like you had, no matter what, like it's kind of like I gotta make it back home. I gotta be safe. I gotta take care of myself because my mother wasn't here, and so before I let someone really feel like they can get over on me, or to intimidate or back me into a corner. You back me into a corner, I'm coming out swinging. What's up? Right. And now I'm
Right.
not going to start anything, but if you tried, we can do it, And so, but really learning how to control those things, but really just trusting myself, learning to spend time with myself and love myself. That's how, kind of like how the power hour, how I talk about the power hour, right? I had a lot of responsibility for getting myself to school. So there was even like a time in my life, I had to trust God and trust what my mom said, and not only like trust what my mom said, I was scared that they would kill me if they found out I did something different. But there was a time in my life where I actually lived alone, um, and as a young girl, and it was just all to protect our family, and our circumstances. And so that was during my time of puberty, and that was happening for me. Um, so again, I spent a lot of time with myself. I loved reading books, so reading
Mm,
books and taking in music and movies and culture, those things that can like occupy my time. So those in
yeah,
those days, that began the process of really knowing myself and who I was, right? And so there's going to be times where it's like a right or wrong, like right, somebody could tell you what's right or wrong, and you gotta like chew the meat and spit the bones with that stuff, because it's also stuff that is just you and who you are. And so being able to keep my reputation respectful was just always really holding my head high and not falling into doing things that I didn't want to do. So
right,
that's a big thing that I would share with anybody, is like, when you know who you are, then you know what you're standing on. But when you don't know who you are, you just doing it because other people are doing it, or you think that's what people your age or your like you do or whatever. Like, if that's, do it because you want to do it, right? But if not,
right.
then don't do it. If not, then don't go. And so I thank God for some of the boundaries too that were set before me. Like, my mom didn't really play that. I could do things, but I couldn't just go to anybody's house. Couldn't just hang out all night. It wasn't. You knew that I was cared for and loved, and somebody was on their way. And if they wasn't, they would. You'll never be seen again. Okay. So between she was like that, my grandmother and grandfather were like that. My grandparents. So both my parents and grandparents didn't really play that. So that helped me set the boundaries for respectful, for a reputation that could be respected as well, because I knew that if I didn't do it right, then I would be in trouble, or there was consequences that come with that, or my family would be disappointed.
Hmm. I love how you mentioned the whole segment about knowing who you are, knowing what you want, and being straightforward with what you want. It ties back into PDI. I want to talk about that a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
and power hours and how important they are, that we take time, we take that hour to ourselves. And I feel like that, no, I know that that's so important because once you know who you are, nobody can tell you who you are. And I tell people
Mhm.
that in school, like, and some people don't listen. And it's like you can't force it on people, but I really try to give people the gems that PDI be dropping, like, if you don't take the time to know who you are, you're going to fall into different things, different friend groups. You're gonna live your whole entire life not knowing who you are. You're just gonna be out of your flow, I would say, because
Mm.
you have to be firm with who you are because I remember before I was not taking time to do all of this, it's so easy to get trapped. Not trapped, I won't say that, but it's so easy for your personality to get warped, I'd say. Like,
Mm.
I remember before I had switched schools, I would say I didn't really know myself at the time, like I
Mm.
want like myself right now, and I found myself doing the things they were doing. And it's not, I wouldn't necessarily say it was me being a follower, right? But at the same time, it kind of was because you're copying the same behaviors. So what does that mean? You don't know who you are. You're just seeing something, you're doing copy and paste. So I feel like that's so
Mhm.
important, confidence crew, that you truly take time, carve out some time to get to know yourself and know your values, your core values. Lay it out on the table for yourself, and it'll give you the opportunity to not only know yourself, but know where you're going, know your goals, and so much more stuff. I mean, knowing yourself is and having a relationship with yourself is the best thing you can do for yourself. So I just wanted to drop.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I would also say, I would just throw in there too, as you were saying, like, it's you, it's not always necessarily you following, right? It's you, like you had mentioned, it's you learning yourself. And you learn yourself more by spending time with yourself. That's just like when you make friends, right? Or even when you go to church, right? You get to
Mhm.
know God more when you spend time in prayer and in receiving mode and talking and conversing with him. When you read your word, when you are with like-minded people, right? You begin to assemble together, whether that's in church or being the church and community, right? So those are times that you are learning yourselves, and I know that that's something that I intentionally say, right? When people say, "Oh, you just follow." Sometimes people do just be following, right? But not everybody. A lot of times growing up, I know in our I would say in our culture, and sometimes just generational, like I know for sure in my generation, I'm a millennial. Um, our moms would be like, you just following up behind such and such, right? Without any explanation, right? Or even for them to think like, no, maybe my kid, I actually had a little bit of that behavior when I was a teen too, or my attitude's a little like that too. Oops, oh, think she
Right.
getting it. I'm thinking you found by your friend. Really, you acting like me, right? Or just thinking like, maybe I need to talk or learn my child more, or and all of that. So that's just opportunities for you all to learn, and you. That's why in PDI we do those things where you learn. You're like, I didn't really like that, so I'm not gonna do
Mhm.
that again. Or you do it, and you're like, you know what? That's me,
Mhm.
and you, and I'm gonna keep being me, so you
Right.
find out who you are.
Of course. I love that so much.
Thank
And
you.
to go back a little bit, I know you talked about, your time learning how to grow without your mom.
Mhm.
During that time, who supported you during that time of you transforming into a young lady? And what was that situation like for you? Like, how did you feel about being in the situation?
Um, well, it really it hurt really bad, but I wasn't alone. I had times of loneliness because I was kind of like my age, or things like that, but I was surrounded by beautiful women. I am surrounded by beautiful women. My mother and my grandmother have taught me how to have a village. I come from a very large extended family, so um my mother's my mother has probably 100 cousins, right? So she had all these I have all these her first cousins. I all call them all auntie. I have an amazing aunt who's a little crazy at times, but that's my girl. Okay, I'm her favorite niece. Um, but being around my big sister and my big cousin, who I call my big sister, they are 7 and 8 years older than me. So again, like I said, with that, I didn't get to like just go anywhere, go to anybody's house and just be hanging. So those are the people that I had to hang with. Um,
Mhm.
my beautiful friends, my best friends, their mothers have impacted me, who are now my godmothers and have stood in the gap for me. So really not being, even though they weren't my mother, and in that time, I was very much so crying from the pain of losing my mother. So it wasn't even with my grandmother. She was my grandmother. Like that was my grandma because I had a grandma and we were very close. But we were all hurting. But when I got in like my early 20s, I began to then refer to my grandmother as my mother because I could see it from a different perspective. But really having a village, having people who love on you along the way. I remember people who, like friends, extended friends of my mother, people who would do my hair, right?
Mhm.
Or, I never really wanted, but my grandparents took amazing care of me. So it wasn't like I didn't need like you to feed me or you to like clothe me, or, some of those dire needs or conditions. My grandparents, I come from a very comfortable middle class home, and they own their home. They took care of me, all those things. Like that wasn't the issue, but the things that you can do to just do, right? To step in, whether someone included me. My friends' moms would take us everywhere we needed to go, and now my grandma lets me go because I got a ride and there and back. Because she wasn't gonna let me just be on the bus. Or like I said, women that would step in and do my hair. When I would participate in activities, right? Different women that would, and men, but community. I'm talking about women right now. That would, you sow a seed. I remember going through different programs and you had to fundraise, and somebody would buy. I was a debutante my senior year. Somebody, Miss Pam Olsen gave me, I'll never forget, she gave me the check to get my dress. And when I went to prom, my big cousin, she made sure I had like she bought our corsages, right? or just stuff that people would do. My sister always looked out for me. Like I'm her baby, even though I'm like her little big sister now, but my sister always made sure I had what I needed too. So anything that I needed, they would just be there for me. So again, just having a village of women that would stand in the gap for you. Not saying that the world is always that kind sometimes, because a lot of people will pit us against each other to say, I have nobody. I don't have women friends. I don't trust women, or or I don't girls or whatever. But I guarantee you, I know at least for me and most of the people around me, anytime you think about something that you needed, or anytime you think about people being there for you, it was a black woman that
Yeah.
stood in the gap. It might not have been who you thought it would have been, or your mom. I'm not taking away nobody else's responsibilities, but at least it was somebody that showed up for you, right, and cared about you. So that's that's what carried me. A village raised me, and a village is still keeping me even today, because I still feel the effects of not having my mother, and now also not having my grandmother. And so um people just they stand. We got to stand in the gap for each other, not just me, but for each. We all got to do it for each other.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Miss Keeya. Well, I just appreciate, and I'm pretty sure the Coco and Confident crew appreciate you for letting us in a little bit on who you are, allowing us to get to know you, um,
Hmm.
for this episode. And I will say, once again, with being in PDI, having a village is super important, and not knowing what that looked like before I got to PDI changed my perspective um a lot. Like it just was a whole 180, as they all say. I just really appreciate having a village and growing up knowing that it's okay to ask people for help and it's okay to go to your people. You don't have to do everything alone. So thank you so much, Miss Keeya.
Thank you.
All right. So, like we mentioned in the beginning, we talked a little bit about our Black girls getting this weird view and, everything that we go through as melanated girls. So, let's let's go back in time a little bit, Miss Keeya.
Okay.
From the 80s to now, in your opinion, your
Hmm.
honest opinion, how do you feel that Black girls have evolved in representing themselves? And why do you think that is?
Well, one thing I know for sure is we've always been a very proud people, you know, and in all things, um, are kind of like generations. You have kind of like things that you hit along the way. Our generation, I know my generation for sure, and I think every generation has their thing, but I know for the 80s babies, and even the 70s babies, but for sure the 80s babies, a lot of our parents or even community were doing crack, right?
Mm,
We're doing it was a very much so a more, I want to say, grittier time, but we began to come into a different wave of self-expression in the 80s. Right now, I feel like girls have we are even more boldly. I think we've gotten, there may have been bold statements, but we've gotten even more boldly, right? Where we're accepted socially for being all kinds of ways now. Where
mm,
in the 80s, and before, you kind of had to, it's kind of like sometimes whitewashed, right? Or you're falling into what society tells you is the beauty, the standard of beauty, or how you should walk, how you should talk, how you should carry yourself. You know, a lady does it like this, or if you don't have this education, then you're only going to be that, or just whatever. But I think right now is a time of great liberation. I think sometimes we can be a little bit more, we can get further in knowing even more of who we are, right? Not letting people erase our history. So we
mm,
know how to continue to show up and represent. When you've been around that, or you read the books and you see the women wearing the gowns, or you see the women wearing the beautiful head wraps, you see the women, standing on the front lines of things, Black women, right? You see them being, you see them with many degrees and being educated, right, and intelligent, and you see them without all those degrees being intelligent, right, telling you, teaching you something.
Yeah.
passing down those important pieces. And so I would say we have evolved in. I've never felt more confident in being able to express myself, right?
Mm,
And without apology, right? We say now more than ever unapologetic, right? And we stand on right?
right.
And we don't need no man, right? I need a man, but well, I'm just joking. But you know what I'm saying? Like we can do it without having to have a man, and I think we lose our way a little bit with that. With just understanding partnership and a spouse, whether man or woman or whatever people choose to do or who they choose to love. But um we standing on our feet, right? And a lot of times we've suffered greatly because we just needed a leg up,
Mm,
and Malcolm X said the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. And even today, that is still even true, right?
yeah.
Everybody is excited and clapping when we are standing on the front lines for them. We are advocating for them. They love our our whole entire being, right? The way we walk, the way we talk, the way we wear our hair, how our body shapes, how we dress, how we just are, right? This is who we are. And they love that. They love to jock our style, right? And it's cool when I'm defending you, when I'm standing up for you and I'm letting somebody know. And they like, ooh, girl, let her know. And my neck is moving and I'm standing up for you. But then something happens to me and you're quiet,
Right.
right? Or or you disrespected me because you got a little carried away, and now I got to get on you, and now your feelings hurt. Now you telling me how I'm wrong, and I'm really just expressing myself and letting you know how offended I am. Right? We will go to the depths of earth for many others, and not ourselves, and so we must be reminded. What I do love now too is, again, we've always had to be very strong and resilient and tough and standing. And that's it. That's on one side, that's it. Because if I gotta stand, I'm gonna stand. But on the other
Hmm.
side, more than ever now, I'm living a soft life. Be gentle with me, right? We're self-caring for ourselves and we're loving on ourselves. Yes, nobody can spend money like a Black woman, right? And not only in ourselves and then taking care of our families, but I love now that we've entered a generation where a lot of women, not just Black, but a lot of women aren't necessarily becoming mothers right away, or they're career driven and different things like that, or they're finding different ways or different. They're finding out that their life has different purpose, and so in that, they have the freedom to just be themselves, and
Yeah.
so they get to own that and care for themselves. Don't apologize for ever like having to care for yourselves. Now, sometimes you're gonna have to make choices because of your responsibilities, right? I'm not saying be foolish. You got your nails and your hair done, and then but the rent's due. Like I'm not saying do that, but making yourself a priority, just being gentle, taking more time with yourself. Like we said with the power hour, that is time that is intentional time for yourself every day, to pay yourself first with time, because who's always the first one to jump up and help somebody? Us,
Right.
Black girls, Black women. Who always the first one to work and we doing our work and somebody else's work? Us, the Black woman. And so spending time with ourselves so we can reflect on the day before, on the day prior. We can be intentional about how we're going into today, and then we can, then we're aligned with what is happening in the future. So
Yeah. Wow. That just made me feel some things, Miss Keeya, because
yes,
when you
girl.
had said that Malcolm X said that the most disrespected set of people is the Black women in America, it
Mhm.
really just sunk in with me because, not to get off topic, but I believe Wednesday or Thursday, I think it was Wednesday, I was in class and this white boy was just so, like, they say that you're never really alone when you're a Black person because there's always a white person in your business somewhere. And
Mhm.
just like so worried about what I was doing. So then he was like, "Oh, what do you got going on?" Like trying to be trying to use some AAVE. I don't know what he was trying to do. So I don't know. I just snapped back and I was like, what do you have going on? Like, what are you supposed to be doing? So then he
Mm-hmm.
started like doing microaggressions towards me, like breaking his neck like this, talking like I don't talk like
Mm-hmm.
that. So it was like, what are you trying to indicate? You know, what
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I've heard that he's been doing that to black girls since middle school. So, mind you, I'm a junior in high school. We're about to graduate next year, and you've been doing
Mm-hmm.
this since sixth grade, and you about to be an
Mm-hmm.
adult. Something not right. But I just had to,
Yeah.
I need to say that one because
Yeah.
no, I never knew that Malcolm X said that, but it makes me think different with my
Mm-hmm.
perspective on things now. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I would say just look it up. But also in situations like that, that's just a reflect. You have to, some now sometimes I'm not saying don't say, get what you say. I will get you together quick. But sometimes it's not even worth the time because it's just a reflection of how people feel about themselves, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and they can mimic and mock and all that other stuff. And one thing for sure, they do be non-black folks do be trying to be in your business, right? And what are you doing? Or like, and I've literally had people ask me like, What are you doing?" And I had to be like, "It's none of your business," you know. And
Right.
so when you're conscious of those things, then you can. Now I'm super intentional, and it's like I remember being younger. You just kind of like, "Oh, I look like this," you know.
Hmm.
That's none of your business as a grown woman, standing firm on, I don't have to tell you. I don't have to tell you anything. They are, people just want to be in your business and it's a reflection of insecurity within themselves and them needing to control when they can't maybe control their own life, then they're looking to control somebody else. Right. And
Yeah,
who's the easiest mark, right? Oh, you're going to pick on a woman and particularly a black woman. And traditionally, right, don't talk back to me or don't say that. Or if we do, right, then who's in trouble? Like if you cuss him out and the teacher see you cussing him out, and might even heard what he said to you, they're gonna be like, oh, you was being aggressive. Oh,
mhm.
you was being disrespectful. And it's like, no, let's rewind, right? And that's also today something that I see that's a reflection of time. We're able to get it out a little bit more. We're surrounded by the right people that can help us articulate ourselves and get our point across in a gentle manner without resulting in maybe cursing everybody out. I know when things would happen to me as a young girl or a teenage girl, again, I was angry at the loss of my mom. When you had me twisted again, back into the corner, I'm gonna come out fighting, I'm gonna come out cursing, I'm gonna come out, everybody can get it, right? So sometimes not really sitting with learning to control, master yourself. That's why in PDI we focus on self mastery, right? Because that's who you're responsible for is yourself. We focus on the self love because when I love myself, I know myself. When I love myself, I trust myself. Then I can go into this world knowing what's for me, right? And so when I take time and I'm gentle with myself, then I'm not so quick. I can then respond versus react to everything. Everything doesn't deserve your reaction. Everybody doesn't deserve your reaction. Everybody, a lot of people, you ignore them. Silence is golden. People cannot never misinterpret silence. So even in some of those situations that you or any other girl may find themselves in, just be silent. Distance yourself. I don't have to sit next to you. I don't have to talk to you. I don't have to, just all right, I'm going my other way because I got bigger things to do, right? I'm on a path of my destiny and of my future and all the things that I envision for myself, and letting someone bring you down to a level, to their level, that they're not even happy with. Why would I allow you to do that to me?
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Miss Keeya.
You're welcome.
But getting back on track, y'all.
Here we
Sorry.
go.
With social media being a big thing now, it's a big deal in this day and age for
Hmm.
teens. How do you feel girls are How do you feel that girls are not acknowledging how they show up for themselves and understanding that digital footprint is a real thing and that
Mm-hmm.
and how get it like giving information to let them know that this can be a long-term effect.
Um, I think that for girls, um, with social media, one thing that we have to remember is that number one, everybody should be mindful of what they're posting. Everybody should be mindful. Some of the things, whether you do them or not, is just not people's business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because we do live in a society and we do have, cancel culture, judge people are so judgmental, or the same rules that everybody else get away with don't necessarily apply to us. And no, it's not fair, but yes, it is true.
Yeah.
And so for our girls, a lot of times they're online and the world will tell you, society will tell you, oh, we don't judge you off of how you do this, how you do that, da da da. We're all one. We don't see no color. It, you're equal, right?
Mhm.
But you're not equitable, right? You still have somebody that's looking and judging your life, right? They're still going to judge you off of what you do. They're still going to judge you off probably what your family does and how they show up. If you got a brother that, you might be a 4.0 student, and then you got a brother that do a little gang banging, and is in the streets, and they're going to judge that, right? Or your father's not in the home, right? Or your mother's not in the home. Yo, they grandmama raising them. Their mama must be on drugs whole time. Mom might be sick, or
Mhm.
mom just needed a leg up. Or I know even like for yourself, some of your siblings aren't even in this country, right?
Mhm.
So you never know what somebody's story is, and so it's just being gracious with each other, and Black girls understanding that they don't have to do what society tells them should do. They can make their own choices, strong and independent, being self sufficient for who they want to be. Your digital footprint will stick with you. So a lot of times, again, young people just long to be online. Right? Just like I'm gonna get online because everybody's online. Everybody's on Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok and all these things.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna TikTok, right? And you don't even understand the responsibility that may come with being on those platforms. You may not understand that your name will always be attached to your digital footprint, and you could post it and you can delete it, and it'll still be accessible if need be. Or so I'll take somebody to screenshot it, and boom, we got it. I can tell you exactly what she said. I can tell you exactly what she posted when she might have been high, when she might have been drunk or hanging with her friend, having a good old time, and a little loop, little turned up, feeling yourself.
Mhm.
And she might have realized the next day she made a mistake, and now she wants to delete it, but now it's out there. Somebody don't set forward it on or whatever. So just being mindful of I think the biggest thing is them being mindful of how they desire to show up. Like, what does that look like for them? Not just other people. Of course, our families and our parents and our families and our communities will influence us, and our friends will influence us. But what does that look like for them, especially as they are desiring to live very successful lives? All the girls I know around me, our girls, they millionaires. They speak in millionaire language. Well, how do millionaires show up? You
Mhm.
know, whatever you say you want to be, a nurse, a dancer, a doctor, you want to be an entrepreneur. How do you want to represent your business? How do you want people to receive you? So always thinking about that, and then emulating what that looks like to you. And just knowing that everything doesn't need to be posted, everything doesn't need to be
Yeah.
on there, right? You don't need to see me on Instagram in my bra and panties, or my you don't need to see me in my pajamas or my night clothes, or or whatever that looks like, because that's not my lane. Now to some girls that's their lane because that's their profession, or they're models or whatever they're thinking, and that's what they want to do, then do that. But and when I think about what I want to be, or and particularly when I think about um I've been with Project Diva 14 of the 17 years that it's been around. I literally mentor and coach girls. I've touched thousands and thousands of young people's lives, so some of the things that I may do doesn't mean that I'm not a woman who thinks that who knows that she's sexy, right? Who surrounds herself. And when I'm in adult company doing adult things, that doesn't mean that I need to put it on social media. You know what I mean? Because what I do in my business in the community that I serve, or I'm in community, and so they don't necessarily need to see that. It's just none of their business.
Mhm.
But that don't mean, again, somebody else do it that I don't. Hey, think that, hey, girl, go girl, be confident, because if you do, be the best you, right? Or do your thing. Like, I'm always too. I can still find beauty in some of those things, but it doesn't mean that
Yeah,
it's necessarily me. So they have to acknowledge and take responsibility and ownership of their behavior and their choices of how they want choosing to show up every day.
exactly. That was really good. That was really
Thank
good.
you.
Needed to be heard. Like, take some notes while you're at
Okay.
something because that needed to be said for a lot
Yeah.
of people.
Thank you. The jewels dropping out the back,
Yep. Yeah.
girl.
But going back to social media with the being seen and not being viewed, I feel like that also ties into like a little bit of black girl hair. And it just makes me question like what is the deal with black girls and our hair? And Miss Key, how do you, and as well as the Confidence Crew, how do you feel about us and our natural hair versus weave, insecurities, and overall just loving what God gave us?
um, I Number one, our hair is beautiful. And all the
Yes.
amazing things that it can do, and all the amazing things that we do with it. They are a part of our culture and our artistry and our expression of our culture. Um, I grew up with my hair. I didn't really wear my hair natural till I was probably in my 20s. Because the generation that raised me, you process your hair, relaxed it. We was relaxer as kids, or I had a curl, you know,
Mm,
and I knew how to comb my hair and make myself present, comb my hair, make myself present. I was always going to be well put together. And so that was also coming from that kind of like well put together space. Um, we were, and that also too in those generations, right? We were discriminated against if our hair was a certain way. Like there wasn't that much like freedom with it. What I feel like our natural hair versus weave, I I ain't got no weave in today because my hair growing. Okay.
right.
Shout out to my crown growing, right? I had to wear braids for about 4 years, but it's a habit, but taking care of it. I think the biggest thing is taking care of your hair. Just because you see a woman with a weave doesn't mean that she doesn't like being black, or she doesn't love herself, or she doesn't,
Yeah.
isn't confident. Some people, they do have insecurities because our hair, nobody hair is like ours. Our hair defies gravity. So you have to treat it a different way. You have to talk to it and nourish it a different way. And a lot of people aren't necessarily taught how to do that. So then you have to pay somebody to do that. But then you have to be able to afford to pay somebody to do that.
Hmm.
Um, so not all of us know how to comb our natural hair. As I go, my hair is very thick. I have 4C hair, and it is going to stand straight up, right? So I have to pay somebody to tend to that. So I do not feed into, um because some of my closest friends and some of the most beautiful women I know are hairdressers, cosmetologists, right? They do hair. And so it's a part of our expression. Now, do I think some things don't necessarily need to be appropriate? I don't necessarily feel like as a 14-year-old girl having hair to your ankles is appropriate, right? Because you can be that's sexualizing yourself. Most people that got hair to their ankles, well, you got that's saying something different, right? And shout out to my girls who do, but they're adults that do that, right? um or loud colors, right? Or I hate edges, hate them, but I don't come from that generation. You know what I'm saying? So, but I did a little baby hair back in my day, but not the edges, right? And I'll be like, girl, I can't follow it, but do you, baby? Do you get your hair done? But do I think that a girl is insecure because she has that? No, because she's with the times. What's going on in her generation, right? We also braid. We get our braids, and most of the time we get braids, there's weave in the braids. So again, not looking to pass judgment on each other, just ensuring that somebody is spending enough time with themselves and loving on themselves to love what they see, no matter what. So I'm gonna love what I see, whether I'm like this or I'm loving what I see and my hair literally has been shaved off in a fade and a mohawk. Loving what I see if I got my braids, my knotless and the da da da, you know. Um, just loving it, loving me regardless, and seeing the beauty in myself. The
Yeah.
insecurities come in when you think that you have to have that in order to be then accepted or be loved or to be somebody to be attracted to you or for you to be attracted to yourself.
Yes. That was really good. And I just feel like it goes back to knowing your core values, knowing who you are, because once you don't know who you are, it just causes you to spiral and tap, or not even tap, but put your hands in different things that is like holding you back from your potential, you know?
Mhm, mhm.
You tapped on like being sexualized and like this like you know perspective people have on Black girls. And my question for you is, with so many girls seeing celebrities as what is to be like sexy, and this like view on celebrities and comparing
Mhm.
themselves to them, what advice do you have for girls, um leading them in the right direction and allowing them to get a better view on who they are versus sexual appearance?
Um, I would just challenge when I am talking to girls or having open dialogue about being sexy or your sexuality or just exploring those different things. I would challenge them to think about what is sexy to them, because sexy isn't just a Instagram model or girl got the BBL and and God
Yeah.
bless. I know some people with a cut with some cold tucks and things. Okay, but and it's not that. It's like, what do you find sexy? Some of those things are, but really what should be sexy about you is who you are, who is your being, right? What oozes out of you, your personality and your character along with your characteristics. um Again, what is sexy to them?
Yeah.
um I would challenge them to again know themselves and spend time with themselves. I know women who are beautiful of all shapes and sizes and all skin tones, all hair types, and that is sexy. And also as a teenager, I know that you're coming into like figuring out like kind of like your sexuality and like how you're showing up and how your aura is really it's really your aura, so people say sexy, you trying to be sexy. No, I'm learning myself and I'm putting my aura out into the world, my energy. And so what does that look like? What am I attracted to? Everybody that's attracted to you isn't only now. You got some people that are, they're not only attracted. I won't even go down that road. They're not only attracted to my breasts and my butt,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So again,
Yeah.
what do you find sexy? And do you just a lot of people don't think. They just want to be led. So it's kind of like the blind leading the blind. But I come from my mother was a very sexy woman and she owned being sexy. Like she loved to wear nice dresses and flow. And my mother was known for having what they called $1 million walk.
Mm.
Okay. She had a strut and I got the strut, but in that, right, things about her were very sexy. That she just oozed that aura that I could admire and then in turn emulate, because we emulate what we learn. Like we're training up. But then in reality, too, my mother was 5 feet and 115 pounds on a good day. Like my mother was very petite. So again, it wasn't because she had bam, bam, bam. It was the aura,
Yeah.
you know. Um, and so just I would just encourage girls. There's so many other things that's just one part of who they are. Where's your intelligence? Intelligence leaks over into being sexy and sexual appearance, right? Or
Hmm.
attractiveness, right? How you could be, again, like I said, you could be really little and could, somebody attracts you because you dress your ass, right? Or you walk a certain way, or you, again, you get along with people, or they find different characteristics about you that they are attracted to. So I would begin to I like to shift language, and speak who we are. So as girls are learning themselves, letting them know it's nothing wrong with learning yourself. It's just what do you want to exude? What are you attracted to?
Yeah, that's really good because when it comes to terms like sexy and like, trying to discover what fits and works for them, a lot of girls get confused and try to, I would say, outdo or overdo because they're
Hmm.
learning, but then it
Hmm.
gets to a point where it's like you don't want down that road. So I'm glad that you were able to give some advice in there and realizing that it doesn't have to just be appearance. It can be carrying yourself well, having high education. It flows different ways. So I like that you said that. It gives different perspective.
Yes. Thank you.
Hmm. And while we're on this topic, I want to discuss how can we love ourselves no matter the hue of our skin? Because Miss Keeya, I kid you not, there's a whole debate. Oh yeah, I'm not black. I'm not brown skin. I'm not brown skin. I'm chocolate, caramel, like this whole fiasco. So, what advice would you give on that? And what is your opinion on that as well? How can we guide us in a better direction instead of bumping heads with each other on that?
Hmm. I would challenge somebody who thinks that way. I would ask them, do they want to be divided or do they want to be united? Um, we are all family at the end of the day. Um, when you get into the skin tones, that's the beautiful thing about melanated people. That's the beautiful thing about being black, or of having melanin, is that the lightest person in the world is, quote unquote, let's say black, right? Melanated from us. And the darkest person in the world is black. It's from us, right?
Exactly.
And so I have family that is of all skin tones. I have a whole slew of cousins who are very light and bright. Have brown skin. I'm in the caramel club, and right. Both my parents happen to be more like caramel brown skin and stuff. But then I also have family members who are considered, quote unquote, chocolate or dark or whatever. And they ain't just pretty to be no dark girl, baby. They gorgeous, honey. And so
Mhm.
we come in all hues. And so I'm very thankful for that part of my life, because I don't really have a bunch of hangups about like light skin versus dark skin. I think it becomes an issue when people make it an issue. So when people
Yeah,
have yet to accept themselves, usually when somebody's talking about, oh, you like that, yeah, and they mac back and forth, it's they're projecting something, or something within themselves that they have not dealt with, right? There's something within themselves that they're not confident in. They're not confident in their skin tone. They're not confident in those things. Um, Maybe you got, and I've been there. Maybe the light skinned girl with the hair down, or curly hair. Like I said, again, I'm in the 4C club. You know what I'm saying? So this ain't laying down. We got to get it to lay down. So, I've been, I remember being a teenager and you like a boy and he like a girl. You like her because she light red bone or light skin, hair down to her head, and because she giving this exotic look or whatever. Um, when really the more Uh, anyway, yeah, those things that people let get in the way. But I know that I'm beautiful, and somebody like it, right? Somebody's going to be a love that and attracted to that, but they're only going to be as loving and as attracted to you as you are to your light and who you are and your being as you are to yourself. So if you
Exactly.
walk around and that's the first thing you say every time you talk to somebody, that's the first thing you jump to, and you oh, cause you like her cause she like, well, it don't matter. You like her, cool. That means you liking the wrong people. Like the people that like brown, more brown, or whatever, right? So I just say we're all family. We need to affirm each other and love on each other. Like we're human beings, and we're in this together. We was marching some of them lines and doing them things. All the history, our ancestors, they were doing that together, right? And people don't have really control of where they who birthed them. They don't have control of that.
Exactly.
So no, no
Yeah.
more. Yeah, I'm sorry. I would just say no more of your history and where your people come from. And we all have our challenges, and let's not start with that. I don't even
Yeah.
I let that stuff go in one ear and out the other. If somebody comes approaches me and I feel like something is happening based upon the color of my skin, it's amongst anybody, whether it's society, anybody in society, and then within our own community, we ain't even got nothing to talk about. Get up out my face because you're not on my level. Like we're not even. We're gonna argue about it.
Right.
I'm not
Like
gonna waste
what?
my time on that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, Miss Keeya. Like, I don't know why that ever has to be a thing, but I'm glad that you said that. Like, we have we have so much beauty within melanated people, light, dark, in the middle. We all black at the end of the day. I mean, I don't know what more or less you want, but you know, we need to stick together
listen,
and be unified. There's people out here that is purposely trying to break um
yeah,
our melanated apart because they know what they doing. But we that's another
yeah,
episode for today.
yeah.
But
I will say, can I just really
mhm.
quickly just say, anti-blackness is a real thing. So it's not just in America; it's all over the world. Anti-blackness,
Oh,
and as we
oh,
begin to, I would encourage people as they again study our history and know that any parts of the world there's going to be kind of like that anti-black. So a lot of stuff that people have to relearn and shift their mindset. But one thing to never forget for you or any of the girls watching or the people watching, everything walking this earth comes from us. And so we date all the way back to Dinknish, right? And again, if you don't know what that is, Google it, right? We have the Eve gene. The black woman has the ability to create anything walking this earth. We are the only ones
mm.
with that gene. So again, knowing who you are and finding beauty in us along every step of the way. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Miss Keeya. As we
Thank
wrap up
you.
today's episode, do you have any final words for teens or parents regarding loving oneself or even loving on our fellow sisters even more? Do you have anything for the Confidence Crew?
Well, Confidence Crew, what I have for you is if you want to, as I'm closing, if you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram, the lovely Keeya, or you can also visit my website, lovesaveme.com, or you can also find me on projectdiva.org. Mm-hmm. Woo, woo, PDI. But yes, again, lovesaveme.com. That's what my show says, Love Saved Me. But I will leave you with more than anything is love God, and when you love God, you then love yourself because you are a reflection of God. And when you love yourself, you're loving each other. You're loving the people around you because you can only love them to the capacity that you love yourself. Remember that we all have a story, no matter how great or even challenging your story may be. Know that the next person has a story as well. So the best thing you could do is be gracious, and look to be compassionate to them and be there for them. We all got kind of like something that interrupted something in our lives. So the best we can do is be there for each other. And finally, I'll just say what I always say when I'm speaking to groups or just sharing about love, right? When we talk about what the Love Initiative group does, I am abundant love, right? When we talk about those things, one thing that people will never forget, they will never forget when you love them. So that's what I have.
Mm. Thank you so much, Miss Keeya. And
Thank you,
thank you so
babe.
much for tuning in with us. We talked about, what it looks like for a Black girl to represent herself, girls being seen, not, well, being seen and possibly not being viewed, expanding horizons when it comes to our skin color. It's so much more. We just want to thank you so much for tuning in with us on this episode. And I just encourage y'all to maybe like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you click the post notification button to get notified when we drop another episode. Make sure that you continue to support our podcast as well. You can support the podcast through don't by donating to the Diva International. We'll have all that information down below. But like we say every single time, you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you decided to be here with me and um, be confident. Coco and confident, as we always say. But thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Miss Keeya, for hopping on today's episode. We'll see you all next one, and stay confident.
Yes, thank you. Love you, girl.